Hi guys, thank you for joining me. Welcome to a bit of a practical and pragmatic approach to surviving Mercury retrograde this Scorpio season. Mercury is in retrograde in Scorpio, a sign of intensity, of passion, of death, renewal and rebirth. A season, if you will, of really standing still with the darkest, deepest bits of yourself. And I think a wonderful time for some massive self-reflection and a bit of healing. We all love a bit of healing, right? Scorpio season, quite a tough season, a season of tough exterior, that armor, the real intensity of Scorpio, that real sexual draw, which is so contrasted with this need, this real deep-rooted need to express yourself, to feel safe, to heal, and to really grow. We see a lot of action this next Scorpio season phase that we come into. We've got the Taurus full moon taking place soon. We've got Venus going into Sagittarius. There is this Mercury retrograde that's taking place, which really will... Mercury is a sign of communication. It is trade. It is self-confidence. It's the conversations that we have with ourselves. And all of this in retrograde in Scorpio, a fixed sign. It might even have us feeling like we're not reaching our true potential, like we're being manipulated. Feelings of paranoia even. So this video really is just my pragmatic approach to try and soften the real pinches of this season. The key here is to be aware that it is a season of fixed water. There is a lot of potential for staying still. Now we've got to be mindful of our own stagnation. That is self-sabotage. So whenever you feel the need, my first tip really is to move around as often as you can. Try not to stay too fixed. The air is changing massively. You feel it. The consistency, the texture of air is changing. Making sure that a lot of throat chakra work is done at this moment will be really good. I've been recommending this to everyone as a sort of consistent, I would say for the next 4 weeks, make sure you are doing this practice at least once a week. For me, I find it to be one of the great relievers of any tensions that I'm holding in my mind, in my body, things that I'm struggling to let go of. I call the ritual, and it is a bit of a ritual, I call it a Venus love bath. Now, Venus, as we know, is the planet of love, self-acceptance, nurturing, self-care, and what better time to indulge in these baths than in Scorpio season, where the real need for a bit of healing and self-care is so exaggerated. How I do these Venus love baths is I will start by cleansing the bath. So I'll cleanse the area, I will bleach the bath down, clean the bath of course, but then I will use some type of smudging to energetically clear the area as well. Now you can use Palo Santo. I personally use Palo Santo. I sage at least once a week anyway, so it's nice to sage the whole house, including the bathroom. Now just before I'm about to get into these baths, I will sage the area with Palo Santo and then set some incense to invoke some other energy in accordance to my mood at the time. I personally like opium incense for my baths. I think try and get a hold of that. I did have a brand that did that and I couldn't tell you, I've run out, I couldn't tell you the name of the incense, but it is nice to not just cleanse the area, the bath, but to invoke some prettier energy. So you could like burn amber, you could burn frankincense, all sorts of incense, really to cater to your own mood, I think. Run the bath with warm water. I use some Epsom salts. This is the brand that I use, and this is just from the health shop. I think you can get this at Boots as well. I use some lavender essential oil. This stuff is organic. It's not to be taken, but you can put it in your bath. So I'll put about 10 drops in my bath with the salt. The next thing I like to use is lots and lots and lots of rose quartz. I would suggest also a bit of citrine because it really helps with the solar plexus and maybe releasing some blockages there. But rose quartz is a great stone for emotional energy healing. I would say it really works nicely with the heart chakra. Fantastic for a little bit of self-love. So if you are feeling a little bit under the weather, like I am, I'm losing my voice, it's this change of weather. If you are feeling a little bit under the weather, if you do feel like you need a bit of an emotional pick-me-up, I would suggest that you put some rose quartz on as well. Really nice in Scorpio season. But the thing with these is make sure that you cleanse them before you use them. So cleanse the rose quartz, and I also like to use some citrine. So cleanse the citrine, cleanse the rose quartz. Pour that all into the bath. If you've got some dried rose petals, that's really good too. And I would just let myself soak in there. I like to do this at night when it's dark. I'll light some candles. I'll play some really relaxing music or a meditation of some sort. Anything that will really get me into the theta state. So a nice theta binaural beats meditation on the side with some candles. The essential oils, getting my senses stimulated, and it is a really relaxing feeling, and I think a really good way to release some of the built up energies that we carry in our bodies. It's really nice to let go via this sort of muscle relaxing way with the Epsom salts. So that for me is a Venus love bath. Now, rose quartz and citrine are both really high vibrational crystals, and more often than not, when we find ourselves in a really low vibrational state, it's difficult to stay in the bath when we find ourselves in a lower energetic resonance. To match the vibration is quite tricky, so you'll get in and you might feel like you need to get right out. My advice is just try and relax a little bit and let yourself relax into the bath. I sometimes spend up to 4 hours in the bath. This is why I like to do it late at night, so I'm not disturbing anyone. But it is a good idea to try and spend about 20 minutes to about, 20, however much longer you can handle. Spend it in the bath. It's a good way to help release the tensions that you're holding in your body, at least. Okay. Now, that's having a physical bath that we can do, and that can help us replenish our own energies via the crystals, via the Epsom salts, which help dissipate energy from our body itself. It's important also when we're in meditation to really, in the water, to really focus on leaving a lot of the negativity that we might be holding in that stagnant water. And once you've decided that it is time to get out, I think it would be a good idea for you to physically imagine that you are leaving all of the negativity that you might be experiencing at the time in the water, and watch the water drain. So don't actually get out of the bath before letting the whole bath drain of all of the fluids that were in the bath. There are other things that you can add to this Venus love bath if you like. I sometimes put cloves. When I feel like I need a little bit of extra spiritual protection, cloves are fantastic for that, for getting rid of energy vampires. Cinnamon is really good as an addition for abundance. So if you're feeling that you need to manifest a little bit more financial abundance, or you're looking for a pay rise or something, I would use a lot more cinnamon in these kind of baths. Petals, if you can get them, make sure that they're not the ones that are sprayed with chemicals. So a lot of florists will spray pesticides, etc., on their roses, and you don't necessarily want to put that in your bath with you. So I like to use organic dried rose petals that I would probably use to have in a cup of tea also, so they don't have any nasty additives, etc. And they're again really good to raise your vibration. They're very high energy. I like to also sometimes put lavender flowers, again organic, if you can get them. I grow my own, so it's nice to be able to have them on hand. Lavender I use if I really need to relax. If it's like it's been a really stressful day, and as an empath, I'm sure other empaths can understand, if you have to go out, you've got appointments, etc., use public transport, or just generally coming into communication with people, it can be quite draining. And so lavender for me is perfect because it really helps get rid of energy that's not my own, and helps me kind of reconnect with myself. What else do I like to use? I also like to use rosemary, just when I feel as if I need a bit of a mind realignment. It's such a powerful herb, especially in the bath with you, and I'll just snip bits off. Again, I grow it in the garden, but you can pick fresh rosemary up anyway. You could use rosemary essential oil as well as the rosemary in your bath. It's really healing. It's healing for the mind. So if you're finding your nervousness or your stress getting a bit out of control, I would reach for rosemary first and foremost. It is something that you can use with the rose quartz and the citrine also, but I would suggest that you use rose essential oil or lavender essential oil just for this particular bath, because it does help you calm down quite a lot. Okay, what else? I think it's important also this season to connect with the element of water. It is the element of emotion. So a lot of healing will come when we're brave enough to like sort of look at our emotions in the face and sort of see where we're coming from with a lot of our own agendas and issues. It is a great, like, it's so easy to get caught up in paranoias this season, and I think that's because it is such a fixed state of mind with Scorpio that you've got to almost be the challenge to break into movement so that new energy can be created, as opposed to being stuck in one place with a certain frame of mind, which is why I think rosemary is fantastic for these for Scorpio baths as well. As nice as it is to sit in that water and really adapt that energy, the energy of water, which is ultimately very cleansing. It's so relaxing. It's the primary ingredient, I think, to relaxation. It's nice to be able to just settle and be still in your own energy and sort of see what comes up, traumas, etc., and heal them within that space, and then let that water flush down the drain if it's not good energy, or take with you what you've come to terms with throughout this bath. So that is a fantastic way for me, I think, to recharge this Scorpio Mercury kind of mix. Now, the other thing that I like to use is charged water. You can charge water yourself. I made a video this time last year about using charged water and charging your own water, but it is like your little energy mists that you can spray to sort of clear the air around you, sort of heal your own aura, if you will. I like to charge drinking water as well. Now, there's a few ways that you can do this. The way that I like to charge water is you can either take some masking tape and write love and stick it on the jug, like so. You'll have like a sticker here, or you can write in pen that will just say love. I like to charge my water by blessing it, and you can bless it by saying a little prayer. Dear God, please bless the water that I'm going to drink. Bless this water that me and my family are going to drink. Let it be, let it quench our thirst as it's supposed to, and let it heal us and bless us. So just things like that, you can do that, say that to the water. Sometimes I'll put a little flower on top of the jug with a little crystal, and light a little candle right next to it. This is selenite with candle inside. Selenite is said to cleanse energy and work on cleaning energetically your surroundings and your home space. So I'll sit the candle by the jug and watch it. So that's great to like nourish yourself internally. That's a really good way, I think, this Scorpio season to bless your food, bless your water, and, you know, let yourself receive the energetic healing of doing things like that, because it's healing your inside as well as your outside. The other thing that I really like to do during really intense seasons like this is fasting. I like to fast on Mondays because Monday is Moon Day, and it helps really tune in my intuition. Okay, if you're feeling off, if you're feeling a bit emotionally drained, etc., fasting on a Monday, I find, is always a really nice idea to just tune you into yourself a bit more, so that you are not only void or ridding yourself of energies that don't necessarily belong to you, but you're sort of realigning your priorities as well, which is why I think it's nice to fast. I personally fast on Mondays because it is Moon Day, and Thursday because Fridays I like to go out and party. So Thursday is a good day for me. The way I fast is I eat before sunrise, and I won't eat anything the whole day until sunset, and then I will have a meal. When I am fasting, I try to make sure that I'm drinking enough water and taking enough nutritious food, so please be mindful of that. During this season, which is quite a fixed sign, it's so important, I think, as I've said before, to remain in constant movement. Movement is so important this Scorpio season. And vigorous movement. I think the key really is to get your heart rate up. So a safe practice. I think this time of year where things really are beginning to change, it's such an extreme in what we've just come from. So it is nice to get out as much as possible. I would suggest going for a run or a walk in a nature reserve, a local forest, park, even wherever you can be around nature. If you can go for a walk, go for a jog, exercise, movement generally, super important. We've spoken about this with the bath, but I think it's so important as part of the cleansing of our immediate environment that we take responsibility to make sure that we are cleansing our surroundings properly. So crack open the window, change the bed sheets, you know, hoover up if you can, as well as doing the practical things. It's so important, I think, to sage. So sage your house. I like to use white sage. I'll buy a big stick and I'll do it once a week, so that will last me like 2 months at least. I like to get a lot of smoke going. Now, as I'm saging the house, I will say, and I will think, I will visualize that there is bad energy leaving the house and it is being replaced with good energy. And I'll almost say it sometimes as well. I'll say bad energy out, good energy in. And this sort of helps clear the energy, if you will, clear the air. Sage is fantastic as well because I think it is, they've said, I've seen a quote somewhere where it said that it gets rid of 98% of the bacteria in the air, so it's a good thing to do, I think, especially in times where windows wouldn't naturally be open because it's quite cold. But I do suggest that people open up the windows, right? So after you've saged and you said bad energy out, good energy in, collect the smoke in the room. As I said, I like it really smoky, but you've got to be careful if you've got fire alarms, etc. And then open up the door and let some of the bad energy out. Excuse me. I think you'll find that it takes about 5 minutes or so, and then the smell naturally goes away eventually. I know a lot of people that have said that they don't like the smell of sage, but it's really good. I think you've got to do it, especially times like this where the veil is quite thin. So I think spiritually it's quite nice to cleanse out unnecessary energies too. Okay, so after we have saged, I always think it's important to burn some incense afterwards. So you can burn some resin if you have resin, or incense sticks. I have an abundance of incense sticks burning all the time. I think it's important to find a brand that you really like, find the smells, the flavors, if you will, that really get your senses going. And I think it's important to have at least 5 or 6 different like spices or fragrances that you go to, so you can associate good times to. I burn the same incense every time I'm meditating. But it varies from season to season. I burn the same incense for different star signs when I'm reading the tarot, based on their element as well. So I think finding a water-based element for this season, an incense that has that sort of smell to it would be a nice way to help dissipate, I think, any stresses that you might be going through. Candle gazing. I think it's naturally a very intuitive time, Scorpio season. I think it's a very good idea to maybe get a safe space, a meditating space, clear the space again, some fresh air if you can, sage, Palo Santo, etc. Burn some incense, sandalwood I always like for meditation or candle gazing. Set a candle in a crystal, like this, something like this. I don't know if you can see, you can't see. Or just a candle, burn a candle and crystal gaze. Always say a prayer before you go into any meditation or any astral travel. And just sit with the candle, gaze at the candle, relax your senses, and see where your mind takes you. Maybe jot down some notes. More often than not, I find that crystal gazing in water season gives me a different kind of answer than I would normally have. I think you gotta try it. Crystal gazing this season is quite an important one. I think setting intentions this season, it is a time of death, but we are encouraged through this season to fall into the 3 sets of Scorpio. So I find that the very last stage, and it's probably around the end of the month, we're about that Phoenix energy. Right now, when we're quite new in the season, it's very much the Scorpio energy, the dark, intense seriousness of it all. And I think it's quite important to deal with a lot of the issues that come up with this Mercury retrograde as well. It is quite important to sit with them. And you might feel like you are being perhaps paranoid, or self-defense is supercharged and all the rest of it. It is part of the process, so maybe just bear with yourself and see if these practices help or what you're learning through this season. Another way to really get out of your head this season, I think, is volunteering. See if there is stuff that you can do for other people without expecting anything in return. So at the vets, at an animal shelter, old people home, hospital, wherever you can. Even to a friend, if you think a friend needs some sort of help or you can help them in any way, be the ear for somebody else this season. It helps balance out energy no other way. It's one of the best ways to really receive more by giving. I think it's very important at this juncture in our experience here on this planet as well to really be quite mindful to see what it is that we can do to save water, save the ocean, save the seas, save the marine life, the aquatic life. What we can do with this whole global warming issues, with the seas warming up. Taking baths is fantastic, but see if there's an economical way you can do it, Maybe you could volunteer with cleaning up some of the beaches that we have I live in Kent, and we are quite lucky because we have a lot of coastal regions which means a lot of very nice beaches. Where there are beaches, there are inevitably people, which is inevitably mess. See where it is that you can do a little bit to clean up the local beaches around you. Or get involved in something that means that we can conserve the marine life. Avoid buying plastic. Make a few changes to, you know, the things that we use, the straws, etc., the plastic bottles. The last thing that I had, the last tip that I had, and it's bizarre because for Scorpio season, I always suggest that people stay away from crystals that really make them feel extra intuitive. I think this season naturally comes with a lot of intuition. And it's perhaps more important to remain as grounded as one possibly can. But I found a ring with a stone that I was drawn to. This is my grandmother's ring, who passed away back in 2016. God bless her soul. But she wore this ring, and she was a Scorpio, and it is black onyx. Yeah. Black onyx. A lot of the black crystals, I think this season would be phenomenal to work with. Black tourmaline, fantastic for absorbing bad energy, EMF energy, radioactive energy. It's great to have black tourmaline in the house entrance also. So maybe putting on some black tourmaline is a good way to get rid of some negative energy. The other one I would say is obsidian, black obsidian. Even sometimes wearing black, I feel, can help one just really get out of a bad phase. If you're going through a negative situation right now, just put on some black and wear some black until you feel better, which will probably be Scorpio season. I think, guys, that's all the tips I have. This is such an impromptu video, but it's things that I'm bringing up on social media quite frequently, so a very impromptu video. I hope you guys liked it. Leave it a thumbs up if you want, and I shall see you guys soon in the Tarot monthlies. Take it easy. Bye.